Alright, we're going to go ahead and make a conceptual mass with some parameters on it and talk a little bit about how you might leverage those in your project or in the future maybe. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new conceptual mass here, and I'm going to pick my mass white, no gradient background, and it's going to open up a blank template. Now, we did some modeling earlier, or I talked about modeling earlier with model lines and without putting constraints on or parameters on the model lines, but we're going to go ahead and do that at this point. So basically what I want to set up is a series of reference planes that I can sort of glue my model to. So it's a rig basically. So I'm going to go to my floor plan level 1. And it's going to show me my front and left, right, and I'm looking down at the level 1 right now, and I'm just going to create a reference plane. So under create, there's a plane, and I'm going to create a reference plane. I'm going to create one on the top, one on the bottom, and two on the sides, just like that. You don't have to be exact about it. I'm going to go to the modify command to stop the reference plane creation. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put dimensions on here that's going to allow me to put parameters on where and how these things expand and contract. So to do that, I'm going to go to the Create tab, and I'm going to pick a lined dimension. And the first thing I want to do is equal these around these two given planes we were given. So I'm going to left click on that, left click on the center one, and then left click on the right reference plane and kind of pull it up, and then I'm going to left click on nothing. And I'm going to hit the equals. So basically it's going to equal those reference planes out around this, so it'll always have the same distance between them. I'm going to do the same thing for the vertical dimension. So left click, left click, left click. Then I'm just going to pull that out there and hit that EQ option. So now I've got those equaled out around there. And you'll notice that my dimension string is still going. I'm still in the align dimension command. So I'm going to left click here, left click here, and I'm going to pull that dimension up above the equals and left click on nothing in white space. Then I'm going to make sure that I select the reference plane here, select the reference plane here, and do the similar thing off to the right. So you can, if I zoom in, you can see that it's got these random, distances. I gave you guys a restriction of a 60 by 60. So we're going to put some parameters on this and make it 60 by 60. So to put a parameter on this dimension, you pick the dimension, and there's a label dimension up here, and you should have create parameter right next to it. So I'm going to click on create parameter, and it's going to give me the parameter properties, and it wants a name. So this one I'm just going to name length, and because I picked it from a dimension, it's going to set it as a length parameter, and it's going to group it under dimensions. I could change that if I wanted to, and it's going to make it a type parameter, which we will talk about later. So I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to do the same thing or a similar thing to this dimension. I'm going to go in and create a new parameter, and I'm going to call that width. Oops, spell it correctly maybe. And leave everything else as it is. So now I have two parameters. So what can I do with those? Well, I can go in and make what are called types. So think of this as a rig that's going to push modeling stuff around. And so I can go over here to my family types dialog box and open that up, and it's going to show me those. I can't make it smaller. Let me push this over and make it a little smaller, and then open this guy up. It's going to show me those parameters that I created. It's going to say type name, and I don't have any types yet. And so what I want to do is I want to create several different types using these parameters. So up here is a new type option, just like the new parameter. We're going to use the parameters to make new types. So I'm going to click on that, and I'll name it. We'll leave it for. Let's make this one 60 by 60. And I'll click OK. Then I'm just going to change these parameters to 60 by 60. And I'm going to hit apply. And you're going to see those update, right? And then I'm going to go new parameter, and I'm going to type in 40 by 40. Now this is just a title. It's not going to change the actual parameter. It's just indicating what that's going to be. So now I have 40 by 40 current. I'm going to change this to 40 by 40. And I'll hit apply. Oops. Must have. Oops. So 40 and 40. And apply. And it updates that. I'll make another new one. And I'll name that 20 by 20. Paying attention to my keyboard very well. And click OK, and then I'll update that to 20 and 20. And apply. So you can see it's actually contracting and expanding that. So now I have these three types. So if I hit apply, there it goes. Now so this is like the world's simplest little rig that I've made around this 0, 0 point. So I'm going to go ahead to create, and I'm going to make a rectangle. And I'm going to pick the corner point of that and the corner point of that, and I'm going to lock that to the reference planes. So now if I go to my 3D view, right, I've got this model line locked to those reference planes. So if I were to go in again and change the sizing by selecting a different type, you're going to see that update, right? Okay. So I'll go back to 60 by 60, click OK. Now I can pick this, and I can go to create form. It'll create a form. I can then adjust that again. So 40 by 40, apply. Right, 20 by 20, apply. So it's only moving the bottom, which in my case right now is actually fine for me because I want to have some more flexibility in the top. I want to be able to move this around individually, so like with edges and points. So I don't want that stuck down there on the on those reference lines. So now what I want to do is I want to go to my south elevation, and I'm going to put a reference plane here. And I'm not going to connect anything to it. I just want to have it here so I can look and see if I'm over the 60 feet maximum, right? So there's the 60-foot maximum. So that's just really more of a visual aid for me at this point. So, so now what I want to do is let's go ahead and go back to, I'm going to Control Tab and go back to my 3D view. And I want to pick that top surface. I'm going to pull it up, right? And you'll see it'll actually stick where that reference plane is, which is pretty interesting. So if I stick it there, that's going to be, 60 feet. Exactly. Now I could lock it there, but I don't want to. So basically I have a 60-foot cube, super exciting. And then I can basically make different sizes for the bottom of it using those parameters. All right, I'm going to stop here and make a part 2 where I'm going to make a void form that goes through there, and then we're going to see how changing the parameter and also the edges and points can make a fairly complex object.